Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rouse case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live chat. Today we've got a discussion. The title itself is quite specific to what we're going to be talking about. And there's a few additional things as well to add in. I want to give you my thoughts, my responses, my opinion of the matter, okay? In addition to that, to do with this horse box trailer, Dylan hanging himself accidentally, or if he was scared, afraid, or if someone else did it, we're going to look into that. I want to also look at the mob crew Chris with his post. Some of you would have seen it. I want to view it for myself, read it, analyse it, see if there's any patterns with what's been previously said, because it's like, well, didn't someone else say something was going to come? And now another channel, it's like, who's going to come first? You know, is it first come, first serve? What's it all about? So more about that shortly. I think we got some questions as well, which Christy has provided. We'll have a look at them, see if I can answer any, and if not, just at least spread awareness of them. Maybe someone in the chat can answer it. And if not that, we can do another video down the line. If there is time, we'll take a look at the forum or the maps. Just depends how deep we get. We're also going to be looking at Chase Venstra because I thought of an alternative theory and it can link with Aidan Clunes. Okay, don't get too carried away. So, yeah, quite a bit to talk about. But first of all, my mind is a little bit wonky, okay? Not from last night's video. I can handle that, of course. And even Gorilla Jack's voice I can handle, even though I was a little bit taken back by how realistic it was. Hello, yes, Gorilla Jack. Not quite yet. You know, this is the thing. As Maria says, less talking, more action. That's just how she likes it. So just to discombobulate, is that the correct word? Well, it'll do. Just a quick whip around. Oi, yes! You know what that's exactly like. And some of you probably think, what the hell's going on? Has anyone seen that video on YouTube of that like old guy in the church as he's doing his rapid clapping up and down with his hand? He's got such a motion to it. It's like that. Woo! Yes, very efficient. Now, here's the thing. There's all the kinds of maneuvers we can go for. We can go for the Texas tornado whip. We can go for the Detroit undercut. Yeah. We can even go for the New York tip, where it's right on the edge, just like what Stoney asked for. So there's a range of stuff, but this is just to cleanse the place, okay? Okay. It needed to be done, okay, as well as for my mind as well, because God, what's been going on recently? Wild. Now, first of all, does anyone know where King Salmon is? Originally known as King Samoan. I can't remember what his latest username is. King Salmon or King Salmon Banger of White Chicks, or that may have been his name at some point. Where's he gone? What's happened to him? I've not heard much from him. The last time I heard from him is when he was defending Johnny Yarborough, also known as Gay Sloth. Unless it's one of those things where they come as a package. Sounds a bit dodgy that, but they come as a package where if one person is under fire, the other person defends them and I don't know, whatever. But basically, reality is, I did clear it up, I did explain it, I did respond back, but it just depends if King Salmon actually saw it or not. Whether he agrees with it or not, that doesn't matter. Just acknowledgement, whether he's heard it or not, would be appreciated, okay? So let's put that aside. Where do you want to begin? First of all, I mean, should we just like ram in, like really just push in there through that tight hole? Yeah? Okay. So, it all begun last night where all of a sudden there was people with these different comments, not new people, regulars, but they were coming out with this bit of information, that bit of information, this happening, that happening. And I was like, what's going on here? I thought I was losing the plot. But then, with a bit of explanation, with a bit of provenance, do you call it that, where it originally came from, It was mainly from the Shack Ladies live stream, which occurred either last night or the night before. Take in mind time zone difference, okay? Jim Terry as well did a live stream as well, but that was a members only one, so I have no clue what went down in that. Maybe some people saw a glimpse of the video. What I will say, just to take in mind, okay, just a little tip for people that are out there, okay? If you want to watch a video that may be behind a paywall, if it's been live streamed, what I've seen with some channels, it's publicly watchable until the live stream ends, and then it's locked behind a paywall. When the Mob Crew Chris did some VIP behind the scenes of the Wash search with Candice Cooley and Texas Equisearch, I saw footage of that. I was watching a little bit of it. Not the right time, because bedtime, but I watched a little bit. And then when I checked the next day, it was not watchable because it was members only. You get what I'm saying? It's happened with pancakes as well. So, I don't know if it does work or not, or it's just a bit random, but yeah, if it's supposedly a members only or VIP video, you can actually watch it publicly when it's live from the looks of it. It's only afterwards when it's restricted, okay? A little loophole around that. So take that into mind. It might not last forever, but, you know, just incorporate some like dodginess, a little dodgy discovery, just like how people do in video games, looking at these like ways around stuff. And one of those things, right? Now, what I will say, just adding on, and I don't know if this has actually happened, but more so as an observational observation of hypocrisy for the future. If at any point a human criticizes someone else for doing YouTube or covering the videos, and then they're criticized as being manipulative because they're doing it for money or they're doing it for attention or views, I think what that person has to be aware of is that there are other channels that are doing the same thing, but they are restricting information from being released, but releasing it selectively, which is behind a paywall. So that seems even more money driven. So whilst people can criticize the average YouTuber or whatever for doing this or doing that, there's people that are making the most of things, which in their own right, they are being successful. But, you know, if you want to start claiming this or claiming that, it should be aimed more at them rather than the others to begin with, okay? And I think what you might see at times is those people criticizing, calling people out, they're actually supporting the ones that are hiding it behind a paywall. So there you go. Just a brief little reintroduction or re-explanation to what is the membership here. Well, first of all, you become a WLW Angel. Pff, wow. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Don't worry, I'm not going to turn into some narcissist. Okay, don't worry. But you do get those dodgy badges and stuff, the little colourful ones, yeah. But as for the actual coverage of the case or a case, that remains the same, so you don't have to get your pants in a twist if you don't like it, okay? You want little dodgy badges? You want some little dodgy time? Yeah, go for that. Okay. So, yeah, I think at this point, where the hell are we? I think we've gone a bit off route, don't you think? But let's put all that aside. So, referring back, last night I was hearing all these different bits of information, got a little bit confused. I assumed the way it was being worded, it's breaking news, it's a new development, maybe it's been leaked from what Candice Cooley has discovered herself. That was going through my mind. I was like, wow, whoa, when did you hear about this? How did this come about? Guess what I did? I checked the video out today, which was of the Shack Ladies live stream. Take in mind, doing other things in between, as well as, you know, the research, as well as this video as well, okay? Watched the first 4 minutes and I was like, oh, okay? Aside from the Dylan, Kurt Wadsworth, Lucin, trailer, I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, just, I don't know what speed you're on, but I've got it on ×1. You know, I have to put it in, I have to put it in like 0.25, and then it will just about sound normal pace. Whilst that's going on in the background, you got Bob doing a I thought I was listening to Morse code at some point. I was like, whoa, are they trying to, communicate with the aliens out there? The Shack Lady is communicating on a higher 4D density, vibrancy, Bluetooth frequency to the aliens, and Bob is doing his Morse code transcript of what Shack Lady is trying to interpret. I was like, oh no, what is going on? Oh my God. And at some points I noticed with Bob, he was like, oh yeah, this happened. Yeah, I just heard about this. Yeah, it was about the trailer. Yeah, and Dylan may have hanged himself in this. And then Shatley said, oh, where do you exactly hear it from? Or what about this? And Bob was like, I was like, my God, is your battery drained? Do you need plugging in from the back? Because I'll tell you something, it definitely worked for me that time in that video. Isn't that right, Weedleby? Yes. But yeah, it just seemed a bit all over the place. Now, what was talked about last night, at least on my channel in the live chat, which is good of people to do so, right? This is the big positive, and we'll highlight it once again. The only reason why I knew about this was because of the people that watch my videos that were communicating in the chat last night in my video. Summarized, right? Selective wording, selective language, right? There's positives and negatives to it. Positives, time efficient. Negatives, you miss out on other stuff, could be bias. But if there's enough people that have their own different preferences and then they all come together and summarize it, it's like boom, 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 there we go, right? Now, what was talked about last night, would I have found easily? No. As for the Shack Lady's title, it's understandable why, because they're talking about a range of stuff. You can't fit everything in the title, but if there are some very important key points, they need to be addressed in the title, right? Just so people can refer back to it quicker, right? If someone said, oh, you heard about the Shack Lady talking about the trailer, or you heard about what Bob had to say, and it's like, Bob who? Bob Hope? Bob no? Mr. Bobblehead? I don't know, like, where's this video at? Which one? Is it the latest one? Is it an old one? Is it a mid-range one? I don't know. You see where the problem lies. It's in the title, okay? Just a key little word can definitely make a big difference. Now, I do acknowledge it's a lot harder to do in this case because there's so much to talk about and there's several layers. But if you can group it based off a date, an event, a name of an event like spring cleaning, June 2nd, in the title, like that, hits hard. If it's to do with a singular person, include the person's name. If it's to do with a theory, an event, and a rumour, which you can talk about quite a bit, mention it in a title. And you would have seen that's what I've attempted to do. Such as last night when it was to do with the witnesses, 25th, 27th, and then additional title as well after that. So if people were like, yeah, what about the witnesses? What happened at this time, at this day? Oh, where do I look? Type it in or just go through my channel and it'll show up in the titles, right? It's like that. And you could say, well, how do you know it? How does it really work? Well, I can prove it. So from testing myself, sometimes I've got to go back to previous videos of mine, right? If I need to get a screenshot, if I need to listen back onto something, you never know. So I go into the studio, I go into my videos, and then I click search, and then you can type in a keyword. It could be and, it could be the word no, it could be the word dodgy, whatever it might be. And once you type it in, it will search for all videos on your channel which use that word or sentence in the title. It's really, really effective and helpful. So that's why I try and title videos differently each time. The moments where it could be titled just Dylan Round's discussion, that's because it's more of a casual time, okay? Might not be as hard hitting. But there is an alternative to that. There are other moments where it could be a casual discussion, which then turns into something deep, something interesting, a possible breakthrough, a a key question, etc. And then following it up with an individual video titled to do with that specific thing, okay? Hopefully that makes sense to you. So there are ways around it at the end of the day, but you know, depending on your format and style, it could conflict with one another, right? So I guess with like the Shack Lady, with her style being 4, 5, 6, 10 hours long, there's a lot of talking in between, of course, right? So there's a lot of discussion, and to summarize that in a title, it's very difficult. Whereas if you did a shorter video, like how I do, but that's just because my style is different, not literally a live interview, but more so a live premiere, okay? The chat can say all kinds of stuff, which is good, but the title and what's being talked about and the tone and the pace is set for a specific thing or two, right? Kind of like how this video is at. So it's just me giving my thoughts as we go along, okay? Oh my God, that's sour. Some Italian lemon. No sugar. What a disaster, Stoney. What liquid are you feeding me, Stoney? Oh, anyway. I think I really need to get another drink. My throat is really dry after drinking water. That makes a lot of sense. Right, so I am back. I am hydrated. So, listening to the Shack Lady's latest live stream, but not watching it live because of time zone difference, okay? I just watched a small portion of it, and luckily the key thing that was talked about was at the beginning, which is useful, I guess. I mean, there has been times with like Doug from No Thanks where they've done the interview, they've asked all the questions, they've followed a certain order and procedure, and then at a cut-off point either she leaves or remains, and then they start talking freely about all kinds of stuff, which might not be as important, might not be as relevant, but at least there was an order to things, where I think with live streams and interviews and call-ins, because it's so fragmented, some people are joining, other people are leaving, some people have a bad connection, other people are over talking accidentally or purposely, some people are being accidentally kicked out, some people are losing connection. It's like a zoo in a way, right? And because it's more informal, it's more loose. If it's more loose, can you quite follow the story? Maybe, maybe not. I guess it depends. Okay? And maybe it's got like a visual impact as well, because you're not really looking at much. You're looking like at a black hole, right? But yeah, that aside, when Bob, I forgot his last name, Bob Feelgood, Bob Tendall, something like that, Bob, okay? And he mentioned about the horse box that Dylan Rounds was put inside of it by Chase Venstra and Robert Aviles, okay? That's what was talked about, okay? And as Dylan was in there, he had rope put around his neck, which makes no sense because the way it was worded shortly after that was by Bob. Maybe Dylan accidentally hung himself when he was trying to escape. How do you accidentally hang yourself if you've got rope round your neck and you're stood up, right, and you're not stood on like a little stool or anything? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you had rope put around your neck and then you were told to stand on a stool and then you were put in a trailer while stood on that stool, and whilst you were trying to escape something, your foot slipped off the stool, then you drop, and then the rope like that, and or strangulation, whatever it may be, makes sense. But didn't sound like it was worded like that. So, you know, what's the point putting rope round Dylan's neck if they're not gonna hang him, but Dylan does it himself accidentally? Doesn't quite make sense because the setup isn't in place. Like, I couldn't understand if you tied Dylan up with his hands bound like that so he couldn't escape, or his legs wrapped up, lassoed, okay? But that doesn't seem to be the case, and kind of odd. As for the likes of Chase Venstra and Robert Aviles, is it likely they're responsible? I mean, I'm sure Ty Corbyn will share his thoughts, right? Especially with Robert Aviles. As with Chase Venstra, Dylan helped Chase Venstra a couple of days before, so why would Chase do that to Dylan? If they've just met for the first time, if Chase's son indirectly worked, even though not known, Chase's son worked for Dylan at some point, you thought there might have been a little bit of leniency or neutral mentality towards someone like Dylan. You know, if you've helped someone, you might not always receive something back, but you don't really expect them to do something bad to you straight after, right? So that's where I'm thinking, you know, how could someone like Chase Venstra do that to Dylan? As for Robert Aviles, I mean, he's done burglary to do with drug-related stuff as well, but what about actual physical violence? Not from what I've heard of, at least with the news articles. Okay, Aviles and Venstra are both hated by, I guess, Montello locals, or some of them at least, like Kurt Wadsworth, right? Maybe even Brenner too, right? Because of the Becky situation and the standoff with the gun in the past with the chrome one and the shot fired like a warning one. So maybe some kind of a heated grudge with time. But as for Dylan, who's kind of outside of the picture when it comes to all that internal drama, Dylan doing his own thing, how does he get caught up in it? Now, what I would say is, with Dylan helping Chase Venstra out a few days beforehand, and whether Kurt was told that by Dylan afterwards on the 26th, 27th, when Dylan was in Montello hanging out with Kurt and he opened up to him, maybe Dylan never knew that Kurt disliked the likes of Chase Venstra, but Dylan was opening up to Kurt about how he helped Chase Venstra. Could have struck a chord with, yeah, I'd say so. It could possibly have struck a chord or triggered Kurt Wadsworth within, thinking, you're helping him out? Oh, how could you? You're a traitor. Or you're helping him out? What's he told you? Huh. And it could set off something there, right? You never know. I think a couple of people in the chat last night agreed, saying how maybe Kurt did find out and was told, maybe Dylan did open up and that led to something in some way, right? So, yeah, interesting. I know there's a couple of people that have already heard this. I know, saw it last night in the chat, but I just wanted to retell the story for those who may have not heard or were late to the premiere. You never know, okay? But the other thing that was added in by Bob was, because when I was first listening to this, I was like, yeah. And then when the Shack lady said, where did you hear that? Or when did it happen? And Bob was like, oh, it was when I was looking back at the older interviews of Kurt Wadsworth by Pancakes. And then I was like, oh, so it's not really new. It's already been talked about in a way. It's just been brushed over. Now, I can understand the concept, right? Looking back, re-listening to audio, interviews, videos, whatever it may be, right? Because you might pick up on something key, right? Now, I would say most of the ones I've analysed, right? East Idaho News interviews, just about all of them, interviews on Doug's channel, Mob Crew's channel, and wherever else, right? Not Duty Ron though, not Zav Girl though, not Pancakes though, not Shack Lady, but you know, the other ones I've looked at, I'd say I've analysed them very deeply, right? People have said, whoa, you're over-analysing. When you're told you're over-analysing, you probably covered just about everything, or at least most of the important points, right? Not everyone can do that though, of course, so that's why you look back. As for these interview videos, I didn't look at the time, and when I tried to, shortly afterwards, they were privatised, deleted, taken away on Pancake's channel. I don't know exactly for what reason, whether it be because of resistance. I mean, in the early days with the whole interview with Kurt Wadsworth, I remember when Doug from No Thanks either received or sent out a copyright strike to either Pancake's channel or vice versa. something went on in the early days. Zavgirl, No Thanks, maybe Jim Terry, either using Kurt's interview video from Pancake's channel or something going on, and they weren't allowed to. Using audio when they weren't allowed to, it should have been private, or it should have only been done once Pancake's uploaded his video. I can't remember exactly this story, but there was drama back then where they all became known to one another, I guess. So maybe that was a turning point where the first bad taste left in each other's mouths were there. I don't mean they were spitting in each other's mouths. Well, maybe somewhere. But, you know, just that resistance starting to build and form, right? That's just what I think. Now, when I think of it now, okay, my reaction from last night compared to how it was this morning, big contrast. When I heard it last night, said by others, it was like, wow, yeah, wow. And today it was, oh, it's just looking back at the past. And who was it from? The horse's mouth. Kurt Tannick, Kurt Nee, Kurt Wadsworth. Or, you know, if Kurt ever turns into a penguin, Kurt Waddlesworth. Waddling along, flipping his flappers, or flapping his flippers, whichever way round it is. Okay? Now, of course, as we said with Kurt Wadsworth, 1 minute he says one thing and then he says the complete opposite, right? And we did like a little analysis of Kurt and his part 1 interview, right? And I said some of it sounds true, other bits probably not relevant, but it wasn't directly to do with Dylan, right? So there was no need to really make too much up. But because this other stuff that was being talked about, which is to do with Dylan, to do with this trailer, it could be setting up to leading up to an outcome, right? And I think what we need to understand is if this is coming from Kurt Wadsworth, basically Kurt Wadsworth is telling the story as if he's basically blaming Aviles and Chase Venstra, both responsible for Dylan's death, disappearance, right? That's how it seems. Do you agree in the chat? We do a poll right now, okay, whilst I'm trying to stay hydrated. Do you think, from what was talked about in the Shack Lady's stream, or at least from what Bob said in the early parts of the video, that Kurt Wadsworth, what he's previously said in a past interview, that he's basically blaming Aviles and Chase Venstra for Dylan's disappearance because of this horse box scenario? Make sure to vote. If that's the case, and yet Brenner is in jail, and Brenner is supposedly innocent, and Brenner knows Kurt knows Brenner, why isn't Kurt making a little bit of an effort to try and help Brenner out if he's in jail? Or is Kurt just like, well, every man for themselves, not the best outcome, but at least I'm not dragged down? Like, you know what I'm saying? If Kurt was so insistent, first of all, let's just say, supposedly, that Kurt strongly believes that Aviles and Chase Venstra are responsible, why is Kurt not doing more to prove it, right? Why is he not doing more to help Brenner out? Now, if that's not the case, and he knows who is responsible, could be Brenner, let's say, but he wants other people charged, Kurt might not do as much because he's thinking, well, Brenner, you know, although he is responsible, although I know he may be responsible, although I may have played a role in this whole disappearance of Dylan, at least I'm a walking free man. I guess, even though I don't like Aviles and Venstra and the walking free, at least I'm still, you know, here. So I guess we'll just have to make sacrifices. Brenner does one, takes one for the team, and it is what it is. That's the other way of thinking, okay? I think what we also need to look back at, and we've still not seen it yet, and the Shack Lady is dying to hear about it, to do with the questions and I guess direct responses with those polygraph tests. And we know a range of people did them, like Brenner, who failed, okay? But then the likes of Robert Aviles, who passed, Chase Venstra, who I think, lied on one of the questions or so. So it's like, oh, okay. You see, it's a bit of an uneven pattern, right? Because although Chase Venstra may have lied or failed one of the questions in the polygraph test, he still had an alibi on the day Dylan went missing. Now, I know in between things could have happened, but at first glance, you kind of think, oh, they failed in this area, which makes them suspicious, but they've got an alibi for the day it happened. So it kind of balances it out once again. As for Aviles, well, people have defended him. Ty Corbin has defended him. Robert Aviles has also done a polygraph test, passed, and it's like, oh, well, it's not that suspicious, right? Kurt Wadsworth, though, who's still walking about, hasn't done a polygraph test, refuses to do one. Not quite proactive in the case overall, and yet he's like, and you know, when you observe it yourself, and you know, you're listening in, and you're also hearing about no polygraph test, you think, well, he's dodgy as well. So they all have dodgy areas or parts within the case, right? And I guess maybe the easiest thing to do at times is just look at the most dodgiest of dodgiest people. And no, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about Brenner, right? But this talk about the second man. There'll be one of them at least walking about. And that's the problem. Whilst they're walking about now, back then, in the future, they've had more than enough time to get their story right, clear things up with others if there's any misunderstandings, clear up any additional mess, move evidence away, dig up maybe something and move it elsewhere. You get what I'm saying? That pattern. Is it definitely happening? Well, possibility. The longer a suspect is out there, the more time they have to do things. If it's to do with getting rid of evidence, hiding it, moving it elsewhere, that really doesn't help. And we have seen the presence of some people in certain areas with track marks and footprints. Might not be exactly related, but a bit of a coincidence at times you think about it. But yeah, this horse box situation. I think one key point that was brought up, right, by, I think it was Indiana saying how, you know, is there a horse box present, first of all, okay? And some of the people were questioning it. And my answer at the time was, no, not from what I know of, not from what I can remember seeing. You know, is it worth doing, like, checking the images out quickly? Like, what about Heavy D, that flyover, which was right at the beginning of the case when they looked down at the equipment? I guess we can take a look at the photos right now and check if there's any horse boxes present. Okay, so this is the first image and it's of Dylan's farm. And you might be wondering, well, why would a horse trailer be down here? Well, I don't know. Depends who owns it. We have seen that all kinds of equipment has been scattered about, including Kurt Wadsworth's, such as the backhoe of Kurt's, which is seen down here parked near to Dylan's farm. So anything's possible. As for relevance, this photo was taken at the beginning of when the case developed, when Heavy D went for the first time. So this is several months old, okay? So we just glance about and let me know, can you see a horse trailer anywhere? Now, I guess horse trailers look very similar from the UK to the US, I assume, unless US horse trailers are a little bit more dodgy in shape or size. I don't know. But I just say they probably look as they do how I've seen them myself. Sure, you get different size ones. You get the little small ones for like 1 to 2 horses, and then you get the big ones, right? But from looking here, all I see is 2 trailers, Dylan's pickup truck, a couple of tractors, the backhoe, a truck, some other little machinery, a tank, small tractor, some trailers, pipes on the ground, the pond. I just don't see any, trailers for horses. Okay? Let me know in the comment section, or maybe the live chat, leave a timestamp if you do notice something, and then we can look back. But I just can't really see anything. Let's move on. This one's a little bit more, significantly more recent compared to the previous photo, but this photo now is aging as well. Might take that in mind. Some of you will already know by what I mean. But we look here, sure, yeah, there are things missing that can be explained. Trailer, been taken away by police, DNA testing. The backhoe moved to the grain shed, which is interesting. But is there any trailers here? Horse boxes? Doesn't seem like it. You see the piping on the ground. You see in areas where it's a little bit flooded, the puddles forming. Tractor's still there. There's that, but that's not a horse box or a horse trailer. What about the distance? Nope, can't seem to see anything there. And some people may be saying, well, why are you looking here? Why would the trailer be here? Well, as I said first, you never know. And secondly, people did suggest and want me to check back. So that's why I'm doing it. It's like a viewer request in addition to that. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So I can't really see anything myself here, once again. But if you can, list it down below. Let's move on to the next one. So once again, this photo was taken same time as this one here, okay? Because it was right at the beginning when Heavy D went over. And it's at the grain shed. So once again, we take a look around. Can we see anything? What's over there? You got like another tank, kind of similar to what we saw back at Dylan's place. That appears to be a trailer, but an open top one and not for transporting horses. It looks bigger than you think, I guess. I mean, let me know your thoughts on that. Does that look like a horse trailer to you, a horse box? It's an open top one, so it's not exactly practical, but as I said, in the US, maybe they do things differently in some areas, or maybe they're improvising with what they've got, right? Anything else? Not much over here. It's very empty and sparse. No, you got the camper there, RV. Some cars parked up by the side, rubbish, trash, some boxes, RV there, truck, the grain truck. And just to answer someone's previous question, okay, so someone did say, well, is there any proof that the grain truck was parked in the grain shed? Well, from what Candice Cooley said, she saw the grain truck in the grain shed, and as well, at a later point, Candice Cooley did say that when it came to the spring cleaning, June the 2nd, it was Brenner that drove the vehicle out of the shed and left it there and didn't reverse it back in afterwards. So that's why it was left there when Heavy D came later. Okay? I just don't see any trailer horse boxes. Do you? Nope. And we just look at this one, which is, this photo is taken same time as this one. Okay. Look at the ground. Looks kind of patchy, right? See some tractors, vehicles. There's the backhoe there with the deflated tyre. Grain shed. That's still over there, those vehicles. Those cars are. You got that there. Looks like some of the trailers have gone, though, compared to what we saw previously. There's like 1 or 2 trailers, so they've both gone. All of them have. There's a reason for that. Like, if Brenner lived in one trailer, why did the other one go as well? Or did Brenner own both, like how Dylan had 2? Does anyone know that? Dirt mound over there, as you see. But no, I just don't see any trailers or boxes. No. So, we didn't find any. Does that rule it out completely and it's debunked? End of story? Not quite. I mean, sure, you could counter the point about a horse box being used to transport Dylan somewhere or to execute him inside of it. We can, you can put that aside for now. But with just common sense, okay? There must be a horse box somewhere, right? I mean, first of all, Brenner has a horse on the land, which goes into the grain shed, the pole barn at times, pole barn shed, fucking whatever you call it, okay? There was straw, there was hay inside. So I guess food for the horse. The horse itself runs about the land, hence why there's a gate there to prevent the horse from escaping, because it's happened in the past, right? There's a horse present. If the horse was to be taken somewhere, it needs to be transported in a horse box. And some of you might be wondering, yeah, but the horse didn't go anywhere. Well, from the looks of it and all the stories we've heard, the horse of Brenner's was used to an extent. I think Indiana described it as Briscoe Road, or Briscoe something, where basically the horse went up to a certain point with Brenner and then they parted ways, which is a bit odd. It's like, what, the horse just walked off randomly like that? And then you fast forward and then you hear the story about Kurt Wadsworth or Taylor getting a hold of Brenner's horse and then eventually it ending up in Idaho, right? So there's been a transfer from one point to another, okay? And in that space, a horse box most likely was used. Now, if it's to do with Chase, Venstra and Avalos being responsible for that horse box, then how did Kurt Wadsworth and Taylor get the horse then? Did he use the same horse box or use their own? That's where it gets a little bit messy, right? But I just wanted to highlight it though, because Indiana did make a good point saying there must have been a horse box used at some point, considering the horse probably would have been put in one and then taken to Kurt Wadsworth's place, or Kurt Wadsworth picked up the horse and put it in a trailer, right? So that explains that point, and it's kind of like reinforced just with common sense. The next point is determining exactly when did it happen, this transfer of the horse with the horse box. Was it their own horse box? Was it Brenner's own horse box? Was it Chase Venstra's Avalos horse box that was used for Dylan earlier on? That's the next point. And of course, as I said, some people may say it's a load of rubbish because it's said by Kurt Wadsworth. I could understand why people think like that, of course. I'm just trying to make sense out of the whole matter, right? I mean, what I can't quite understand, okay? This is the thing. You got the shack lady talking about biological matter being found in the grain shed, hence why the hole was dug up by FBI. Later, hinting towards the idea that it's blood, but Tom Evans saying it's not fully 100% confirmed, but there is something in there to do with Dylan, right? Something. So then why did Dylan supposedly die in the trailer from getting strangled, from getting hung? You don't bleed out most of the time if you get hanged, strung up. You get what I'm saying? It'd make me think that if that did happen, what would have happened before it was Avalos and Chase Venstra beat up Dylan inside of the grain shed until the point where he was bleeding out of his mouth, his ears, nose, or somewhere else, right? And he was on the floor, pool of blood collected. Then they grabbed Dylan and dragged him out of the grain shed. And whilst dragging him out, his boots fell off and then put Dylan inside of this horse box, tied him up round the neck, and then whatever happened, happened. And then Brenner, whether he's present, witnessing it at the time, but keeping a low profile, because he doesn't want to get caught up in it. He doesn't care too much about Dylan to prevent it from happening, so he just lets it happen. Yeah. And then fast forward afterwards, Brenner, whether Dylan's still nearby or not, or he's been taken off, Brenner comes out, looks for Dylan's shoes, takes him behind the dirt mound, dumps him there so it doesn't look suspicious on him. Maybe goes down to the farm to see if he can benefit, take anything like how he's done previously, and then afterwards realises probably not a good idea, returns the stuff back, but then it might make him look more dodgy, but he wasn't thinking at the time. Like, this is what I mean. It starts getting a little bit deep. You start thinking, well, if it is Aviles, if it is Chase Venstra, are them two just working together? Is Brenner caught up in it as well? Is he directly helping and assisting? Or is he just a fall guy? Or does he play part of a role and also not direct? Like, he saw it happen, he heard it happen, but because he didn't like Dylan, he thought it was a good thing. Like, get rid of Dylan so he's no longer in danger of this land being bought. He doesn't have to listen to Dylan whining on or something about the gate. It's like, if he couldn't do it and someone else did, then it might help him in some way so he doesn't have to get his hands dirty, right? But the problem with this, it feels like we're going completely off track due to what we've looked at in the past. And it's the thing, we get to this point where what we really need is an interview, some update, some statement by Candice Cooley. And of course, I was originally under the impression that it was coming very soon. Then, in another post, she says, no, we can't right now. And now all of a sudden, again, it's like, yes, it's happening. And it's like, oh, no, not this back and forth type stuff. When it's so back and forth, it's like, you can't believe anything, right? Even when it might be the truth, because it's just so unstable, and that's the problem. Would I say we've had a recent burst of information again? Well, not in the same style, right? This is a burst of information, right, and maybe some other things as well, when looking back at past stuff which may have not received enough attention, okay? So it's good it's been brought into the limelight now, but this is where the problem is. And it all ties back to how I reacted from last night to how I reacted today, this morning, right? And it might apply to other people as well. As we said, language and wording is very, very important, okay? Times I do a video about a particular thing, and it's about that thing, right? Simple as. Other times where it's a loose, more casual video, that's how the title appears. But there are still some interesting talking points, and then it can lead on to a more direct video later, okay? There have been times where people have criticised me due to how I've worded something, and it's a bit, a bit dodgy, misleading, when in actual fact, it's not misleading, it's just that the person read it incorrectly, okay? That's like my side of the story with this case. The problem is, when it comes to rumours, either people turn those rumours into facts, false facts, misinformation, or people tend to, not purposely, but word these events almost as if they have happened, okay? Like with this horse box saying, oh yeah, Dylan was put in a horse box. No, I don't think that's the correct language you should be using, Bob. You should be saying, first of all, from what I have heard, the likes of Kurt Wadsworth, whether he's telling the truth or not, suggested, hinted, said himself that Dylan was put into a horse box. That's how you should construct the sentence, okay? Be a lot easier to understand. And like even when it comes to passing on information from what you've previously heard of, and that can apply to anyone, it's probably best wording it. First, list the provenance. Where did it come from? Whose mouth? Do you know when, where, what channel, etc.? And then either quote what was said or just roughly summarize it. So in roughly this person's words, this was said at that point by that person. You get what I'm saying? Because, as you know, with my videos, when we start talking about rumours or an uncertain event, there's a lot of questioning in my videos. There's a lot of uncertain language for a reason, right? I don't just go in 100% confident, giving fact after fact after fact, because it's not possible. You get what I'm saying? It is really down to language, and that's why, especially when more and more people say it, it's like, whoa, is this some kind of groundbreaking event I've missed out on? Something I've not looked at? Wow. And then you finally get to the bottom of it, and then it's just, oh, it's just a rumour. Oh, it's just from months ago. Oh, it's just from an interview in the past by someone who's normally pissed half the time. It's like reverse engineering. You break it down, you get to the bottom of it, and you find out it's pretty meh, kind of dull, bit flat. You get what I'm saying? So I think when it comes to people looking back at information, looking back at rumours, gossip, looking back at certain key suspects that are saying things, you need to use the correct, appropriate language, because if you don't, it makes it sound like you're talking as if it's happening right now when it's not. And that's a problem. You get me? I mean, when I've done my videos where we've been looking back at previous information, like forums, articles, I have said, and today or now we're going to take a look back at the forum page through the months and see if anything was said back then that needs clearing up or anything that's been brushed over. I document it. I show it, I tell it, I explain it as we go along. Whereas what other people are doing are researching back at previous stuff and then coming into a video and then almost wording it possibly at first impressions, as if this is happening right now. And because I guess the styles of these videos, it's not like, hi, as you can see on screen, we're going to be taking a look at this today. It's literally just with a black screen saying, with a profile picture saying, oh yes, this has happened and this has happened. You can't quite tap in as much, right? And sometimes you might not even have to use appropriate language or think too hard about it. And all you need is just simply a screenshot of what's been talked about, right? You know what I'm saying? Because it'll have the date on the forum page. Now, when it comes to these pieces of material, it tends to be more video-based, interview-based, where it's said with words and not by facial or body of presence, because when you look at Pancake's interviews with Kurt, it's not a one-on-one face-to-face like those news channels, East Idaho News. It's not even like a webcam, right? You can't really show it. And maybe some people dare not to use the footage in the clip because, one, it's a live stream, so it's a bit hard to juggle about and get all the stuff on screen. You've seen the Zav girl where she's almost got it presented like a presentation of endless tabs on the top of the screen, and she just clicks on each one by one to follow through with what she's going to say next, what she's going to cover, play this video, play this news clip, then talk about it, load up the pictures and photos, refer back to them, get back up the timeline. You know, it's almost planned out in a live format because she's on the computer, she's got the tabs. Whereas you think about mobile, if you're using the YouTube app, which obviously you will be because of mobile, you got to have that tab open, right? But then you got to also have all the other things on the screen. You can't have everything all on at once on a mobile screen, where maybe on PC, you can close a tab, minimize it, so there's a small box there, one there, one there, one there. Just how it is. It is what it is. It's kind of obvious, but you get what I'm saying. So maybe there's restrictions to why people can't show what they're talking about in a video because of that, or maybe copyright issues, as like Shat Lady has experienced herself. And, you know, if there's disagreements between different channels or it's a little bit volatile, you probably don't want to start using people's footage because of that, because then it could heat up more. Okay? So is that the end of that part? At least for now, okay? I guess there's probably more to look back on, but this is the thing, and this is my thing. If I don't know the original thing, or let's say I don't know the contrasting point, you get where this is going. So if I was to look back at a previous interview, previous long video live stream of all these points and events and drama happening, kind of like when I read out the timeline by Quinton, okay? I'm just reading it. I'm not truly internalizing it. I'm not truly fully understanding it. I'm just reading it because it's my first time hearing about it. I really haven't got anything to work from it. I haven't got any contrasting views or points or events to counteract it or to compare and contrast. I'm hearing stuff for the first time ever, which feels new to me, but it's not in reality because it's old news, right? So sometimes looking back is good when you've followed the story up to a certain point. But if you're looking back at stuff you've never heard of before, which has been debunked, but you don't know of the recent stuff that has been debunked, you look at this old stuff and you think this is new. You start getting confused. Then it might confuse others. And it's like, oh, fuck me, right? I mean, on a small scale, you probably could look at one or two events or points and then it can be cleared up like that. But if you really dive your head into all that stuff, it's like, oh, shit. I mean, when I think about it, when I looked at that Quinton timeline, okay, I looked at it, yeah, but then afterwards it was like waves of, nope, that's incorrect, nope, that's wrong, that's just rumours, that's just rumours, and it's like, oh, wow, like that. Whereas there's been arguably less resistance when I've done my own thing, my own style of coverage, where I'm in more control, if that makes sense. So it could be that as well, level of control. Control of knowledge, control of the technology, control of the application you have, okay? So yeah, if you've got any additional thoughts to do with the horse box, Dylan being hung inside of it, for whatever reason, the people directly responsible, list it down below. What I am going to do now is a very, 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 very quick summary of what we just talked about beforehand. Just in case if you're joining in right now, welcome if you're currently here. We have talked about what's been recently mentioned on other people's live streams, how it's been poorly worded, dodgy language. So first time impressions, you're hearing it, it might seem like it's just happened, it's breaking news, when it's actually, in fact, from the past, in which people have only just started looking back at it and taking notice, despite it coming from the horse's mouth of someone who lies constantly. So it's probably best not going too deep. And that's to do with the horse box, Dylan supposedly being put in there by Chase Venstra, Robert Aviles, and Dylan somehow being hung, despite blood being found in the grain shed. So it's like, well, how did that follow, right? Looking at the horse box, couldn't find any on the maps, like actual imagery. It could have been moved in between. Someone might own it, it's been taken elsewhere, or it's been disposed of. What happens next is unknown. Hopefully that's a summary so you can understand where we're at, right? So the next thing what we need to do, and it will be brief because there's been some changes. So Black Dove did leave a comment or two on my channel in the early hours of the morning today. I didn't really read too much into them because it was a long paragraph, okay? But I think he was either complaining or overall was just trying to establish what was what, because of all the mess going on in the background with time. Maybe there was a level of frustration. I'm not 100% definite because I don't have the text in front of me to read, okay? Kind of unfortunate. You might be wondering, why is that? Because he deleted his comments later. And it's like, why? Why did he do that? Was the person having a meltdown like how other people have? Is it a change in behaviour by them? I have no clue. If they can explain, they can explain. And if not, then I guess you just come up with your own ideas, right? But there is a little, extract? Yeah, an extract of his comment also. And we'll just briefly read it now and see what does it really mean. So this is one of the comments by Black Dove, and it reads, "Be very careful who you listen to, including the locals. There is no way on earth that an RC-135 Cobra ball would fly over Candice Cooley's house looking for Dylan. There are only 4 of those planes in existence, and their sensor packages are for looking at ballistic missile launchers." What the hell is Black Dove talking about? When did I start talking about an RC-135 Cobra ball? Never even heard of the damn thing. So it makes me believe that maybe Black Dove left this comment on the wrong video, and it should have been on maybe Jim Terry's video or maybe the Shack Ladies. I'm not too sure because it's a bit out of context here. There's no linkage. Yeah, in past videos I have, kind of quoted from other channels when they've talked about the flyby flying over Candice Cooley's house looking for some clues maybe, because I think Candice Cooley might be responsible. You remember that? We were looking at it. Yeah. But I've not really referred to it since. So I don't know why Black Dove has showed up on my video saying this. And also, even if you just take that away and just read the first sentence, "Be very careful who you listen to, including locals." Now, in a way, I have listened to locals and so have other people recently, such as on my channel. And that's because like Weezer coming in, Ellen Berg coming in, and then some other people too, right? And they've said what they've said, shared stories, shared the odd bit of media, photos of the place, not directly associated with Dylan Rounds and his disappearance, but like a bit of backstory behind Lucin, etc., right? Quinton has shared his timeline of all the information he's gathered with time. And yet, if you used to interpret what Black Dove is saying, Black Dove is suggesting that I shouldn't and others shouldn't listen or trust Ellenberg, shouldn't trust Weezer, shouldn't trust maybe what Quinton has provided, his timeline, shouldn't trust Ty Corbin, don't trust anyone. Is that what Black Dove is suggesting? Is Black Dove very wary and suspicious of all these Montello locals? Does he know something other people don't know? You see what I'm getting at? The tone of his text is interesting. It's like partially he's looking out for people, trying to spread awareness so no one gets lodged down a rabbit hole. But then when he starts typing in capital letters, normally that can be associated with someone like Jim Terry, typing in caps, making his voice heard. Capital letters, capital sentences are kind of like when you're shouting, right? But in text format, whether that be in a positive way or a negative way. And here it looks like it's kind of annoyed him to do with this plain talk. Now, Black Dove supposedly, I guess, has knowledge with planes, aircraft, etc., and other bits and bobs in between. So I guess if you get something wrong, he will be critical and he will correct stuff, especially if it's misinformation within the Dylan Rounds case, because Black Dove supposedly cares about the case and Dylan more so specifically. So something has triggered Black Dove, but I'm not quite sure who's done it. And I also feel that maybe this comment may have been aimed at another channel, but they left a comment on the wrong video, maybe. Let me know your thoughts. Let's move on to the second comment. So the second comment was on the same video as the other comment, right? And Black Dove says, I think it would benefit your credibility a lot to just start over with a timeline, pointing out all the discrepancies and just read it out fully. That would be difficult considering the level of disinfo and retracted revelations. In my assessment, no one knows what happened, and I've given up on the truth being found out. Now, that isn't just the end, okay? Unfortunately, I don't have the complete extract of the comment, but this comment was much longer, and it was like a paragraph, okay? Like a very long paragraph, talking about all kinds of stuff, talking about how with his knowledge or his understanding of things, I guess, aren't being looked at, maybe, and talking about other stuff as well. And then at one point saying that there's money involved, people are being paid off, there's people in the case that don't want the truth coming out, and they might do certain means and actions to prevent it from any progression being made. People are being paid off left, right and centre. You know, Black Dove seemed like he was going on a bit of a talking spree, whether he'd be telling the complete truth or from what he thinks. I'm not quite sure because I've not looked at Black Dove a lot, but I wish I could show you the rest of the comment, but I can't because it was deleted, and so was the other one. How did I get a hold of this? Well, basically, when you go into the email section, right, on your emails, you can get notifications of comments which have come through, and then you can view the comments. But if the comment is very long, it'll have like a dot next to it, ... and so on. And you know, when you click view comment or view more, it takes you to the video of where the comment was from, but the comment is no longer there, so it's kind of pointless. So it's like a preview message, what we're looking at, part of the comment, right? So I wish I could have showed you more, but this is all I have. But at least it documents something up to a point where he's like, oh, I've had enough. Now, as for Black Dove, in the past, he took some time off from the case. Remember, he went quiet and everyone was wondering, where was he? Where's he at? What's going on? Fast forward to when the shack lady ended up going quiet as well because she needed a break and other things in real life going on. Fast forward, Shack Lady returns back in recent time, as we know, doing a few live streams here and there, and so does Black Dove appearing at the same time. And Black Dove, in one of the live streams, was talking about how, you know, he relates with Dylan, he understands Dylan and the whole concept and idea and his mentality, etc. He feels like maybe the case, the way it's been handled, the truth, how other people are manipulating it with lies and with all the rumours, it's kind of going off the tracks, off the rails, not in the right direction. And I guess it pissed Black Dove off, so he thought he had enough because he was trying over and over again to, you know, gain the knowledge and share it and, you know, try and help solve the case. But because it was really not going anywhere, he gave up. I think that might be happening once again, and I think we have documented it. I don't know if any other channels have seen this, heard about this. It could be a first, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, could you say the Black Dove account is the fake one? Well, I did check very briefly the account of his back then, and I mean, yeah, I did check. Sorry about that, I was just double checking with my mind. I did briefly read through his comment, as I said, you know, try and use my memory to the best as I can. But I also clicked on his profile just to make sure it was his profile and not a fake one. And I can confirm this is the real Black Dove. It is, okay? Because I went on it and it had his videos where he's in, Florida or something. He's in like his back garden or something, legs up on the chair and, you know, hovering around looking at the plants and everything, right? So yeah, that was all there. Now, I don't know if Black Dove has deleted his YouTube account and that's why the comments are no longer there. That could be another reason, or he just simply deleted the comments here. Has he gone completely silent this time because he's really had enough? I mean, just analysing this here where he says, I think it would benefit your credibility a lot to just start over with a timeline. So basically, Black Dove is telling me what to do. He's suggesting that my credibility is already low, lacking. And it's like, excuse me, who do you think you are? Whilst you might have toddled off and done your own things in between, for the past 4 months, I've been keeping this case alive on YouTube almost every single day. So simmer down, boy. Okay. And even still now, keeping the case alive to an extent. Up to those checkpoints, up to those bridge points where it connects, where finally there is some kind of breakthrough or some kind of progress, some kind of official report coming up. But in between, the bricks, the house is built because of the bricks, the foundations, right? That's what I'm doing in between, as best as I can. Sure, it can be a bit tiring, fucks up my back, fucks up my neck, but, it's important to keep the case alive, right? And yet Black Dove is telling me what to do and suggesting that I'm not doing that well. Interesting. Very interesting. I mean, I don't know if Black Dove is getting a bit like in a twist, his pants in a twist, because he might have seen the video by mine of the Quinton timeline, which, a few people did show resistance at the time, which was a bit odd. And then some people changed their minds afterwards and became a bit of a hypocrite, which was odd. But then the other video where people misunderstood because of the way I worded it, even though I worded it correctly and appropriately, to do with has Dylan Rounds been found, and then clearing it up in the video specifically. Maybe Black Dove read that, saw it, and it triggered him. I said, it's just left guessing at this moment in time. But he wants me to do a new timeline. But he also highlights that due to the amount of mess, confusion and clutter, it would be very difficult to do. I agree. It'd be very difficult to do, and it would take quite a bit of time, right? In terms of Quinton's timeline, it's gathering everything, whether it be the truth, checking rumours, false red flag, red herring, fish fingers, I don't know what you call them, and, everything in between. But if you literally had a basic, boring timeline of all known events, then yeah, I guess that would be good. But sieving through it all, it's just a little bit messy, right? I remember in the Kenny Veach case, some guy reached out to me, said he was going to do a timeline of all the key points. Never got round to doing it, and I don't know what happened, but he went quiet, but maybe because there was so much going on. I think he had lots of notes as well, but it was really tiny text. It was so deep, and this is the problem. You might wear yourself out more and quicker by doing all that fiddly, intricate stuff. Sometimes just go at it raw, go at it hard, go at it a bit loose. If it's tight, never mind, just go in and try, okay? I feel that whether it be a timeline, an event, dissection, and stitching is the key process in a case and avoiding being worn out. I've dissected key things and moments, I've separated them apart, I've looked at them, then I've stitched them back together at a later point, and what has been constant all the way throughout, like a storybook, was a visual sense and telling that because of using Google Earth, maybe Google Maps here and there, I was able to piece it all together with the projects, right? Those pinpoints, those beacons, those markers, those color-coded text-based themes, you know what I'm saying? It helped, it worked. Whereas if you're just working with lots of audio, lots of different videos, and you're making notes after notes after notes, and then trying to sticky tape it all together, put it on a storyboard, fuck me, that is tiring, that is rough. And maybe that's where other people go wrong. For some it might work, but for others it may not, right? So if you can just work around it, it can help. Would I say we're at a complete disaster, at a complete loss for words in this case? I wouldn't say so, not for me at least. I know a basic core structure of this case, whether that's completely true or not, that's another question, but I feel like I'm not entirely lost. I'll be honest, the times I feel lost, or I feel like I'm a little fish in a big pond or a big aquarium or ocean, whichever ocean it is probably when you hear all this information all these rumours in a big, sudden, short burst on all these different channels, like I was last night. I was like, whoa, what's going on? What's going on? I guess you can say it's overwhelming at first, depending, if you cover it yourself, if you've got to try and make sense of it very quickly on the spot, and it's like, shit, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What happens now? What the fuck me, but not literally, And it's like, whoa, easy, pull the reins back, boy, okay? You got to grab that horse, okay, grab the reins. If it keeps misbehaving, whack its arse, and then get the map out, providing the horse hasn't swallowed it, pull that map out the horse's mouth and read it out, look at it, okay? And break it down bit by bit. That's my method. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe it makes sense to Black Dove, okay? Was there anything else? But as he says, no one knows what happened, and I've given up on the truth being found out. So, unless something happened last night, which I've not really heard anything of, did Black Dove show up in the Shack Ladies live stream? Because once again, if you read it how it is, considering Black Dove has been more around the Shack Ladies live streams than other channels, I guess, what Black Dove is suggesting is that the Shack Lady knows jack shit about the case, that Jim Terry knows jack shit about the case, that Doug from No Thanks and Mob Crew Chris knows nothing about the case. That's what it suggests. That's what it hints at in rough words by Black Dove. And it's like, there's definitely a tone here. There's definitely a level of attitude, right? But so it would have triggered it in the first place. So I don't know what's gone on. I don't know what's happened. Through my experience of Black Dove, although I've not really come across him much, he didn't cause me any problems. He was neutral towards me, which was good of him. I don't know what he looks like. Does it really matter? I mean, not really, but sometimes if you get an idea of how someone appears, there's a little bit more credibility. There's a little bit more trust, right? You get what I'm saying? Whereas someone like Black Dove can go around saying, oh, you got to establish credibility. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to follow this. You got to follow that. And it's like, whoa, calm down. First of all, what about your profile picture? Like, your profile picture, whether it be joining streams and the face isn't shown. Now, in addition to everything, one thing I will acknowledge, there probably may be understandable reasons to why he might not want to show his face. And that can be for anything, of course, yes. But I'm covering it from both sides, okay? So from one side, people will say, oh, that person's hiding behind a screen, but also hiding behind a profile picture. They're not showing the face. So it could be anyone. Are we supposed to trust anything that comes out the person's mouth when they can't even show their own face? You get that idea. But then on the other side, it will be Black Dove may not want to do this or may not want to do that for numerous reasons. And it's understandable. So I'm just balancing it out because I know other people will fail to do so or won't think of doing it, at least, okay? So they're the two comments, right? Those two on same video of mine. Let me know in the chat if any of you saw the comments. Let me know your thoughts and your reactions. What's gone on? So, with that aside, let's move on to the next talking point and key event which has occurred of a post on YouTube in the community tab of the Mob Crew Chris. We've heard of the Mob Crew Chris before, covered the Dylan Rounds case for a bit, also went there, explored, investigated, used drone footage, etc., communicated with Candice Cooley, did the odd few interviews with her and also assisted with her during that big push, final push before winter time, okay? And it's kind of been quiet since, right? We've not really heard much. Now, says 1 day ago, Mob Crew Chris, hey Mob Crew, happy Tuesday. So kind of a big announcement. Just spoke with Candice Cooley, mother of Dylan Rounds, so we may have her on the show soon. I can't say anything at this time other than positive things are in motion. If she comes on the show, we'll share all the latest details. Also, I wanted to do a poll and see what cases you would like for me to cover. If the case is not on the poll, please put in the comments section. Right, so once again, It's yet another YouTuber being in contact with Candice Cooley, as we've known previously. Nothing strange about that. Candice Cooley has obviously appeared on interview videos with the mob crew, Chris, so that's nothing strange either. Same with Doug from No Thanks. There seems to be a consistent pattern in communication with Candice Cooley, but then relaying it back to the general public, being as vague as Candice Cooley. So there is an understanding between the different parties and one another, which is a positive. No backstabbing at this moment in time, you could say. Respecting what Candice Cooley says, what to say and what not to say, in a way, right? Positive motion, things are moving. Yeah, we heard that in the words of Candice Cooley too. So that's been once again mentioned, almost like repetition, saying the same thing over and over again. Although it might get a bit boring and tiring, if there's repetition, there is consistency. And due to the case lacking that consistency for some time, it's a good change, right? It reinforces things, makes it a bit easier to follow. So it seems positive. And the wording, we may have her on the show soon. May. So it's not guaranteed. It's not for definite. It may well happen in the future, but as for the actual timing, it's a little bit uncertain, right? Now, in terms of Doug from No Thanks, when he did his post poll, he said in the near future. So he worded it carefully himself. And the mob crew, Chris, have done the same. So in terms of language, these two guys have done well in terms of how they've worded it with the language. It's not being too confident, but it's not being misleading either. It's being realistic, right? Realistic language, and also language of uncertainty, kind of like what I've done myself in my videos. Good. Candice Cooley, though, when she made her announcement previous, it was, it's coming very soon. Then the next post was, it's not coming. And then in the Shack Ladies video, it was worded roughly as, it's coming. And then people relayed that into my video last night, saying, from the looks of what the Shack Lady said, it's coming. And it's like, whoa, where did you hear that? Who said that? And at first, the way it was worded, I thought the Shack Lady had some secret contact, and that's how she said, it's coming soon. And basically, all it meant at the end of the day was it was just relayed on from her seeing what the mob crew said. You see what I'm saying? It's like the messenger passing it on. But at least when I'm the messenger, if I do have access to it, of course, I show the original source of it in my video as a form of crediting, but also just highlighting that I don't have all the answers, but other people may. And I just want to share that with other people, just in case other people don't check in all the time. Just like how people do the same with me. I don't follow all the other channels or all the other bits and bobs, but some viewers come on in and tell me, hey, have you heard about this or that? And then I'm like, no. And then they say, well, check it out. And that's what I do. So it's like back and forth, give and take. Okay. So once again, interesting how some things can be exaggerated. Some things can be worded just so finely, some in a different tone. Whether it be directly from them, the channel, or viewers passing it on. And because viewers, the way to word it, they're like almost quoting it as if it's directly coming from that person, when in actual fact it was coming from another person. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean by how it can get a bit messy and mixed up. But, you know, I've cleared it up, I would say. So we'll see what happens, of course. What about the comment section? Anything else going on there? We're waiting patiently. Oh, yeah, look at that. That person says, thank you, Chris. Been waiting patiently for talks about Dylan Rounds. We will not rest until each stone is unturned. Yeah, stony trend. Yeah. Anything else? Daniel Robertson. Oh, yeah, him. I did click on all the above. Okay. Pam. Oh my God, it's Pam. Wham, bam, Pam's in town. Ridley. Goddamn Pam. Okay. Pam is a viewer on my channel. you would have seen it in the chat. She might be watching right now. Okay. Glad that Candice Cooley might be coming on about Dylan. Justice for all the victims would be a blessing to find and bring home. Hate to tell you this, but today is not Tuesday, for it would be hump day, Wednesday. Oh, you got a bit of extensive knowledge behind that, Pam. Interesting. Maybe you can teach Stoney a lesson or two about the hump day, whatever that is. What do we have here? So glad Candice is still getting coverage. Can't imagine the nightmare she feels. Only pray get closer. Okay. Spread the word about. Okay. Dylan Rounds isn't that far from my mind weekly. I'm always checking in. Need her son home. Anyone else? I mean, there's quite a few comments, like 87, so we don't want to get lost within it. Most of them just like people talking about suggestions of other videos, so. Right, that's it. Fair enough. Okay. So, I'd say that clears up that. I think what we should do now is move on to Christie's questions. Okay, so we can begin reading. There's a couple of them, right? I will answer them if I can. If I can't, then I can't. So, Christy says, there are things I want to know. I know we already went about every topic, but I still don't have satisfying answers. So Christy's needs are not quite met yet. She still needs to be satisfied. Okay. Well, sounds dodgy that. Okay, but let's just read the questions. Number 1, why did Candice Cooley say the family cleared Chase and Kurt? She based this sentence on what exactly? Okay. Now, I didn't really quite hear about that where she cleared Chase and Kurt, but not in those words. But thinking around those words, she suggested that Chase and Kurt weren't exactly suspects. That technically they are in the eyes of the LE, just like how the parents are, how she said, because no one's name has been truly cleared. But her tone, her attitude, for most part of it, has been quite supportive, or at least less of a witch hunt aimed towards the likes of Chase and Kurt. Like how she said, oh, Kurt, well, he's not in the picture. We kind of push him to the side because we're focusing on other things and other important stuff. So she's kind of like not acknowledging him. So you'd kind of assume that he's in the clear, right? And then the same with Chase Venstra. I don't know if I answered that question or not, but yeah, if any of you know the answers, feel free to respond back afterwards to Christy. Number 2, why would Brenner unalive Dylan knowing that locals don't want police in the area and that police would search for him and arrest him for other issues? Is he really that stupid, or could he be a scapegoat? So, Christy, key language she has used, the word unalive, okay? If you use the word murdered, killed, slaughtered or something, you get silenced, or you end up, your comment gets deleted by YouTube automatically because of an auto word detection. You get what I'm saying, right? Same with like titles of videos. You can't use the word murder case because you get done for, you get restricted. So you got to use other words around it. Kind of like if you use the word suicide in a title, that can backfire. So people use alternative words when describing like the suicide of a missing person or something theory. You get what I'm saying? You got to be careful how you word stuff. So can I answer this? Why would Brenner kill Dylan knowing that locals don't want police in the area and that police would search for him? I mean, yeah, it could well be a scapegoat, like other people covering for him. I think I might have answered your question earlier on with the whole Chase Venstra Robert Aviles situation where Kurt may want those two arrested instead, and it's kind of backfired. But with Kurt being involved himself, maybe he doesn't want to support or fight for Brenner because he knows Brenna's a part of it as much as Kurt is himself, but Brenna may have played more of a part or not, and he just thinks, well, the blame has been shifted over that way, so I'm not going to counter it because then it would do me in. So maybe Brenna might have been double-crossed, screwed over by someone, kind of like with Don Hately, how Brenna handed the guns over to Don and then Don surrendered them in, contacted police, FBI, did an interview and grassed on Brenna, and then Brenna got screwed there to begin with. So there's already double crossing and backstabbing going on. Aside from the community itself on YouTube, I guess, it's also happening in real life. So we're seeing like mirroring actions, okay? As well. If it's just down to Brenna not thinking clearly, that would make sense as well, because I think if he's done what he's done in the past and he's still got in trouble, then he did it again. He's clearly not learned his lesson, Brenna. And if it's just simply down to the snap mentality of where he acts out, almost blacks out, does whatever, causes harm to someone, and also puts himself in trouble, he doesn't learn from it because he might have issues and he's not been able to fix them in any way. Or it be because he can't, or he doesn't want to, or there's no one else around, something like that. So that snap mentality, that aggression is always there, and it just kicks in at a random point, and it happened with the Dylan Rounds case. And then he's got in trouble once again. I guess the only difference is this time round it was much more serious and fatal because it resulted in death from the looks of it, whereas in the past it just resulted in a hospital trip, right? Does that make sense? Anything else? Number 3. For what reason did Brenna ask to talk to Dylan's family and even did a hunger strike? Is this even true? So that hunger strike was supposedly 30 days long, and I believe it was mentioned by Candice Cooley in one of the interviews. Why did he do a hunger strike? I guess he was protesting for something, at least. Protesting for his innocence, protesting for better treatment in jail, maybe. For what reason did Brenna ask to talk to Dylan's family? For what reason? Well, it seems like to shift the blame onto Chase Venstra, because that was what he was really talking about when contacting Justin and Justin answered. Brenna was saying the likes of, oh yeah, you Chase Venstra, you got to look into him, he's like a part of it in some way or another. You got to look into that, Justin. So it's like directing the blame elsewhere, playing the blame game maybe, or maybe telling the actual truth, right? Makes you think, right, doesn't it? Some people are maybe covering for one another, and other people are double-crossing one another, and then the odd person's getting completely thrown into the deep end, and they don't have much of a leg to stand on because of their past history as well, maybe. Maybe reaching out to Justin because Justin's more reasonable, he's got better reasoning, that Brenna might trust Justin more, rather than Candice Cooley, because of Candice Cooley's attitude and being argumentative and being biased towards Dylan and supposedly knowing him more than anyone else does, even though Kurt probably knows things about Dylan Candice doesn't know about, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's the reason why Brenna wanted to reach out to either spread the blame, shift it elsewhere, or to literally prove his innocence. He's a fall guy, one or the other. Number 4. Now, I know that everybody wants to mind their own business out there, but did you notice that locals did not search for Dylan? Why? Well, supposedly Kurt was searching for Dylan in the early stages. Kurt also said Don went out there searching for Dylan in that Salty Pancakes first interview part 1, which was months ago. But with time, from what we've heard of and what Candice Cooley has said, Candice Cooley said Don, Brenna, didn't go out there searching. There was no footprints. And yet Kurt was saying that Don did go out there. So lies there from one side or another, at least. As for other locals, well, could you say Lance Ty? Or does that not count because they're not living in Montello, they're in the outer skirt area? As for all the other locals, I guess they didn't search, correct? I've not heard of them or heard much about that. I mean, like there was talk about those volunteers and those people in the grid group with hands held together going through Lucin, covering so much distance. You remember the volunteers at some point. I don't know who those volunteers were or where they came from, whether it be Montello or elsewhere or family, friends of friends. I'm not too sure about that. If that can be cleared up, that could tie in with Christie's question, okay? Number 5, why did Kurt say he would be the one to find Dylan? Yeah, it makes you think, if he feels confident, then he must know where Dylan's at. Or maybe it's just in his mindset that he feels like he'll find Dylan because he knows more about Dylan than anyone else does, just simply down to Dylan opening up to him. So he might just have confidence there in his own intuition, his own instinct. But obviously, from the looks of it, he's not been able to find Dylan. And you think about it, that Bellevue live stream where Ellen and Kurt was a bit drunk, a bit tipsy, might have said the odd wrong word or choice of words. And Kurt was just like, yeah, he's already dead anyway. And it's kind of like giving up. Kind of like giving up. What about that mentality of, you're going to find him? Come on, what are you doing? But, it's kind of backfired now. And as well, if Kurt really was the suspicious one and he said he was going to find Dylan, the suspicious one wouldn't do everything they could to find Dylan, because then they're going to incriminate their own self. So maybe that counteracts something. Number 6, for what reason exactly the rumour about Dylan being kidnapped and held captive was spread? In my opinion, it is not only to mislead the searchers. For what reason exactly? So what was the whole purpose or point of it? I said, well, maybe Kurt was seeing it as an opportunistic moment to not only get the $20,000 reward money, but also to shift the blame onto the likes of Chase Venstra and Robert Aviles, who were grouped together back then. Fast forward to what we've heard recently, which was of an old interview with Kurt also saying how Robert Aviles and Chase Venstra were at the horse box with Dylan inside of it with the rope around his neck. You've seen a pattern and consistency. Kurt always keeps referring back to Robert Aviles and Chase Venstra. And whether that be completely true or not, you can definitely tell there's a grudge, a bit of biasness going on, blame game focused at one party, right? So I think it's both opportunistic, money at the time, and shifting the blame onto other people that guy Kurt doesn't like. That's what I would say. Number 7, why don't we have an interview of Dylan's grandparents? It can only be because of religion or shyness. Possibly, but to counter it and ask the question or answer it, fast forward to what's supposedly been said, that interview, that documentary coming out, that 2-part documentary, which I think is in April, possibly, to do with Dylan Rounds. Jim Terry said that the grandparents did appear in an interview or a couple of them within the documentary. So they did show their face and they did talk and share their voice. So when that documentary does come out, then we will see them sort of finally make an appearance. Maybe it is down to shyness. Maybe they just don't want to be in the limelight because of, of what's going on and how things can go to shit negatively. Number 8, what do we know about Kurt's pigs? They go, well, maybe they do. Personally, I don't know too much about the pigs, but what I did hear from Candice Cooley, Kurt and Dylan owned pigs together, but then Dylan parted ways. The pigs died, and then it was like game over. That was it. Unless anything else happened in between. Number 9, who hired Jim Terry as PI at the beginning? Were the grandparents? How did they know Jim Terry and for what reason? Second part of that question is a good question. So yeah, the grandparents hired Jim Terry, not the mother. And it's been worded as, well, that speaks volumes. That says a lot. I guess it depends how you internalise and interpret it. I guess that the grandparents noticed Jim Terry through maybe other missing people cases, if they've been on YouTube, maybe. I mean, I've never heard of Jim Terry before. Never, until I came across the Dylan Rounds case. So that says something, doesn't it? But if any of you know, feel free to share your own thoughts to how the grandparents came across Jim Terry. How? Okay? I think the answers are all in the first interviews we read or heard in this case. Maybe to an extent, yeah. So I think that concludes that for the questions and some answers at least. So yes, I feel like there's been a lot talked about in tonight's video, or at least a couple of topics, and then just like really went in deep, okay? But I think I will be able to fit it all in the title, okay? I'll even like try and think of the title on the spot, which will seem a bit weird in the future, but I guess it can be called something like Dylan Rounds something in the horse box, Chase Venstra, or CVRA, abbreviated just for the space of the characters, / Black Dove walks away, Black Dove meltdown or something, / Chase CV alt theory. I'm just trying to think of it as we go along so it incorporates everything, because if I fail, if my title fails, then it goes against with what I've been saying in this video. So that's why I've got to be consistent in that sense. As I did say earlier on, we may go onto the forums, we may go onto the maps. I don't think we'll be going onto the forums tonight too heavy with what we've previously looked at. Maps, I'll have to see where we are for the time with that. But let's just at least talk about the alt theory with Chase Venstra, okay, and how it could have timed with Aidan Clune. So, the talk of Chase Venstra, 25th of May, running through the desert, bruised, a little bit bloodied, no shoes, escaping from somewhere or someone. Was anyone chasing after him? Not from the looks of it. Or maybe he just managed to escape in time. Then Dylan picks him up. Okay. And then everyone's blaming Chase. Well, not everyone, but a couple of people are blaming Chase Venstra or questioning him for being responsible for Dylan being taken out. How does that even make sense? Just like how Christie questioned, if Brenner really was responsible, why would he do it when he's going to get incriminated? Isn't that stupid? Well, maybe there's something going on in here. A snap mentality, a bit unstable. Is Chase Venstra an unstable person? Let's do a poll right now, based off what you know or what you've heard of. Is he? Yes, no, a little bit, I don't know. Feel free to vote. I mean, when I look back, he's got a bit of a criminal history. Clinton, I believe it was, 2016, standoff with the police for 10 hours long, had bulletproof vest, knives, grenades or grenade launcher, and multiple guns inside of his house. Bit crazy, a little bit over the top, right? I think restraining orders or something, or not being able to see his child, but breaking it, going against the rules and stuff. Look, maybe getting a bit angry at times. You get what I'm saying? If he's a little bit unstable, kind of like Brenner, then maybe he may act out at times, right? How does this link with Aidan though? Well, to do with the shoe situation. If Chase is running through the desert, maybe because he believes someone is chasing after him. Maybe he believes someone is out to get him in there. Let's just say. Because whilst there's been talks and theories about a militia group, some kind of neighbourhood watch, it's not been 100% proven, right? So it could be all in the mind of Chase Venstra, just running out there for no reason. He took off his shoes at some point beforehand, and then came around and thought, oh, what am I doing? Where am I at? And then Dylan picks him up, and then Chase is grateful at that moment. With Aidan Clune taking his shoes off when walking across the road, which is a bit weird, then putting them back on, then going off into the desert, and then at a certain point taking them back off, and then carrying on walking with his shoes in his hand, probably, and also crawling underneath bushes. Not exactly normal behaviour, right? Seems a bit weird taking your shoes off, but it's been proven that Aidan Clune has had psychological issues, depression, and maybe some other stuff in between, so that can alter his behaviour, his personality, his perception, what's right, what's wrong, what's normal and what's not, okay? Acting out, being irrational, everything. Could the same happen to Chase Venstra, taking off the shoes for irrational reasons, causing damage and self-harm, self-inflicted injuries to himself, cuts, bruises, and that happened? Do you think there's a link between Aidan Clune's actions and Chase Venstra's? What do you think? Leave your thoughts down below. As for Dylan, obviously without shoes as well, that might be down to completely other reasons, without choice. they were taken off. Okay? It's just an alternative theory that maybe Aidan Clune isn't the only one, that Chase Venstra was kind of similar. And if that was the case, that Chase Venstra was a bit unstable at times for whatever reason, and he may snap or act out, be irrational. Maybe on the 28th, something did happen, and if Chase is in the area at a certain point, despite the alibi over that way, Snowville Flying Jays, some point throughout the day he came down to Lucin, misunderstanding, a falling out, irrational thinking, irrational thoughts, then acting out. It's okay blaming Brenner because Brenner supposedly has a snap mentality. But what if another individual has a similar, behaviour? You could split it down the middle, him or him. Either way it could go, either way. But there might be more on Brenner than there is on Chase Venstra. And then it ends like that. And returning with Chrissy's question about Candice Cooley almost supporting Chase in a way, makes you think, was there some kind of agreement going on behind the scenes? But what I would say, if there was some kind of agreement going on behind the scenes, then Candice Cooley can't be defending and supporting Kurt at the same time as well as Chase, when Kurt doesn't even like Chase and Chase may not like Kurt. They can't be working together coherently then. So it must be Candice Cooley either is just randomly defending one another, or she's siding more with Chase than Kurt, because Chase might be more responsible and Candice Cooley played a role too. That's just another way of looking at it. So hopefully that all adds up, okay? It's just a hair. Hopefully that all adds up and makes sense, including that alternative theory. You can leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Do you agree with it, or do you have a counterpoint? Okay, so now it's time for a debrief session to cool off, because we went quite deep. Been a bit of a long video. I think it's time to settle down, don't you think? Okay, a little bit dodgy time, a little bit, just thinking of time constraints as well. So if you're joining right now, or if you've just recently joined, welcome. If you want to hear about Dylan Rounds and all of that, including everything mentioned in the title, make sure to rewind back right now to the beginning and you'll hear it all play out, okay? It's all under control. But now, what do we search for? Have we reached that point, that moment in time where, which direction do we go in? Maybe that is the case, but I'm sure I can think of something like maybe Titan Tower. No teats, no tat for tit, tit for tat. I can't remember. You know that saying, tit for tat, tack for tits. I'm not quite sure how you word it, but it doesn't seem to come up now. Oh my God, that search history looks dodgy as hell. How do I cleanse myself? Burger Kings, that'll do. Come on, man. Burger King. Come on, you gotta cleanse me. Which one is it? Have we done that one before? I don't think we have. No, what's this? Mix and match, 2 for $5. The Whopper. Same old shit, so regurgitated. Some dodgy seats there, empty, quiet. Oh no. No, they've incorporated the KFC rejected little bun bread thing. Ew. No, get away from that. Oh my God. Now, normally the little play area tends to be a designated spot with its own enclosed space, but my God, this is out in the wild, man. God, if any of Gorilla Jack's contact or family come on over, God, I'm going to be clawing all over the place, even Joseph Lloyd as well. You're not going to be able to eat your food in peace. All the chips and the burgers will be flying about. That's not a good thing. That's not a good look. Okay, so we've got a burger there, got some extra protection from the looks of it. That's probably for afterwards, I guess. But then we've got the burger there. Bit of a landslide, a little bit loose, it's probably going to fall off the table, so you better be careful there. Got some onions in it, the chips as well, which are a bit bent. But yeah, I mean, it looks reasonable. That guy's still got it wrapped up. That guy should be taking a photo. Man, stop taking a photo of your fucking burger and eat it before it goes cold, man. Oh my god, we got a little creamy milkshake, strawberry. Isn't that right, Maria? You like little strawberries, Maria? Yeah, you want to pick your little fresh strawberries out? Pick the... Yeah. Okay. Okay, dodgy little shot there. Oh yeah, we got the dips. Dip by dip. Yeah, we've got the... I guess that's the tomato sauce. And then we've got the Mochano Maria mayonnaise dip from the looks of it. Some tomatoes on the side. Yeah, man. I agree with you. You take those tomatoes off the burger. They don't belong on a burger. It's all about the meat, man. Just the meat alone, not all the little salad stuff. That's all delicate and fiddly. We don't need that. A few onions, that'll do, I guess. But yeah, it's all about the meat. And you've got the chips on the side. Okay, not too bad, I guess. Little nighttime shot there. This person's completely missed the angle of taking a photo of the burger, which is down there. It must be a first time using the phone or something. Probably Ty Corbyn. Ty Corbyn is like, oh man, I don't know how to use these new phones, these new devices. A bit alien-like to me. I'll take a photo now of the burger. Oh shit. Looks like I'm taking a photo of someone's backside instead. Never mind. What's his... Whoa! Look at this person. What's his fucking daycare for your little drinks? My God. Next thing, you're probably going to have a pram in the boot. You're going to pull the pram out. Forget about the baby. That can fucking walk itself. It's all about the Coke. Yeah, put the Coke in the pram and let the baby walk. That's the mentality of Stoney. Yes, Stoney. All about that Coke. Got to protect it at all cost. You're on a new level, Stoney. Well done. What's this? Oh my God, who would sit on those benches? They look very uncomfortable. Oh, we got some little whipped cream. Only a small amount. Bit disappointing. Oh my God, that person. Is that Weedleby? Weedleby. Oh, there you go. Hi, Weedleby. Yeah, your opening hours are at all times. Is that why? Is that because you... Yeah, I'm not even finished that sentence. I can't talk. Burger King. There we go. Someone's hand, whoever that is. Another dodgy photo. I don't know what it is with these dodgy photos. They're trying to take, like, sneaky ones or something. A bit confused there. There we go. I know exactly what we can search next. Come on, get it up now. How about we type in camel? Camel rack. Camel pass. Julia camel. Not quite much there. Hump. What about hump? Let's look for the humps. Hump pond. Oh, God. Very boring, I would say. Let's go to the hump pond. Where's that at? Oh, no photos available. Is that because it's not safe for viewing? What a shame. What does it look like? Is there anyone out and about? This hump pond is a little bit dry. You don't want to be dry humping. No. There's no water. That's not acceptable. That's misleading. People say that my video titles are misleading. This says hump pond. There's no water. Terrible. Very bad. Okay, what bits and bobs. There we go. Oh my God, what's coming up here? As for bits and bobs, I did try typing it in and it didn't really come up with anything. So, bit of a tough audience tonight. I think it's just time to settle down in Utah and look for a motel, right? It's probably the only way to go. What can we find? Pillow Talk Motel. Yeah. After all that action, it's time for some pillow talk. Yeah. Let all the pillows do the talking as you whisper into the person's ear. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, this is where all the action takes place. All the bedpost knocking and all the screeching. And that's just from out back. Yeah. I want to see these images inside because this definitely looks like a really high-end motel Weedleby would go to. Pillow talk, clean rooms, low-key Wi-Fi. What the hell's low-key? Oh my God, does that say VAC or does it say V? Bella V. Yeah, Bella V's pillow talk. Oh, God, what does that incorporate? I don't really want to know. Actually, to be honest, if you had pillow talk with Bella V, you know, you just sat there, you turn your head round, you just hear heavy breathing. It's like, you're doing really well there, boy. Whoa, it's the first time I ever heard that before. Oh, I'm a little bit drained right now. Whoa, you've taken all the air out of me. I think I need to recuperate. It's like, fucking hell. My God, that'd be a nightmare. Okay, a few trees. Great. Oh my God, what are them? Antlers painted different colours. Okay, and lots of bones. Oh my God. I mean, the amount of video titles Lance Kelly has named Bone Found here, Bone Found there. I know where they all ended up. At this fucking display stand. My God, the amount of bones talked. Really showing. What the hell? Why are we looking at a dog? What about the motels? Why are we looking at a dog again? Ruff, 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 ruff. I'm gonna be quiet because I don't wanna set all the dogs off in the chat again. It just causes a lot of chaos. So, you know, let me know what dog breed this is. Okay, he does seem very tired, resting. It looks like he's resting on Indiana's patterned bed from the looks of it. Oh, yeah, we got the dark nighttime hoot shot. Yeah, no one rolling up yet. No contacts, shame. What the hell's this? Carl Crossing. Oh, God. Is this like a dodgy shack you shit in? No, you'd be shitting on a rabbit with horns. Why is a rabbit horny? I'm confused. That really makes no sense. Oh, we got the... no, don't tell me this is the logbook. And what the hell's up now? What the fuck is going on here? We got a logbook. Oh, no, Jay Silverhills is going to burn it down to the ground. Hell no. What's this? 2 for 2 rate for Moab. Moab? That's a fucking nuclear missile in Call of Duty. Oh my God. Don't talk about missiles, because Black Dove will come in with his RC-13054 High Force F-16 tile fucking aircraft carrier machinery, missionary, action, extraction, fucking repercussions. Oh my God. I hope he doesn't see that. What's all this going on about? Oh, God, if you walked into a place like this, I think you'd be walking back out. You see all these fucking skeletal remains. Like, you saw that. Are you going to think, oh, yeah, this is a motel I want to stay at? All these bones from all the previous people that have come? No, you're not going to do that. Well, actually, maybe Maria would, because she might have some methods with these bones. She might be testing some Wicca craft out. She's probably getting lessons from Cleo, probably going to contact Satan. Probably Maria would be hanging out with the boys, hanging out with Lucifer, with showing a new bone collection or something. Yeah, Maria, I know what you're all on about. Yeah, Maria, do not hide. Oh my God, the dog is... What the dog doing? I think he's trying to eat the bin. Oh my God, man. That's not a good idea. Think about your life choices, man. Come on, Ellen Berg, get in now. Control the dog. What's going on here? Oh my God, blurry photography. My God, this is probably what Glitter Galaxy tries doing when she's on her way, rushing, either school run or rushing to a fucking photography taking class lesson or something, and whilst driving and multitasking at the same time, and also trying to listen to my video, but also making up excuses about cooking tea, cooking food. My God. A pillow. Yes, we know about this. Bella V's clean rooms. I don't know about them being clean, but... Yes, we see the signs. Okay, I get the idea. I get the message. There we go. So that was just a brief map time, just because of time-related issues. But I think it cleansed one's appetite, don't you think? Okay, so I think that concludes everything. What I'll say once again, if you've just joined, make sure to rewind back to the beginning, as everything mentioned in the title is talked about thorough and deep, including some additional questions by Christy, Twisty Christy with her Christy questions. That's a bit of a tongue twister there, okay? Also talking about Chase Venstra and his alternative reasons to what happened on the 25th and how it could tie in with maybe him being responsible for Dylan's disappearance. So yes, if you have any additional questions, if you want to answer any of Christy's questions, put the number down below to which question and then give your answer next to it, and then I'm sure Christy can read through them, okay? And if you want to talk about some additional stuff as well, leave comments in the comment section, okay? And I think there'll be like a pinned message as well, so you can check out my previous video of what was covered, okay? So hopefully this video was clear enough to understand. I know it may be a bit long, but hopefully I talked about everything deep enough and also clear enough, and you enjoyed the video. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye and good night for now.